Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Bold and the Beautiful Thursday, September 26 recap. Brooke's sad Taylor clue Katie reacts to Bill's reunion pitch. The Bold and the Beautiful B&B, spoilers recap for Thursday, September 26, reveals that Steffy Forrester, Jacqueline Massinswood, stood by her claim that she wouldn't play matchmaker, but she still hinted to Hope Logan, Annika Noel, that her parents often found their way back to each other. Steffy insisted Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, didn't come back to pursue Ridge Forrester, Thorsten K., since she wouldn't target a relationship like that. Even so, Steffy suggested no one had a crystal ball and implied that Ridge would end up back with Taylor. Hope, on the other hand, didn't think anything or anyone would come between Ridge and Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang. In the Forrester CEO office, Brooke found Ridge with his arm around Taylor and wondered if she was interrupting, but they insisted she wasn't. Taylor suddenly touched her chest like she was having some issues and seemed to be in a hurry to leave. However, Taylor said it was nice seeing Ridge and Brooke so happy before adding that they had a lot to look forward to. Brooke could tell that Taylor wasn't quite herself and questioned Ridge after his ex left. Ridge hadn't noticed and assumed Taylor was overjoyed to be back with her family like she claimed. If that was true, Brooke asked why Taylor wasn't happier. In the design office on Thursday's B&B episode, Taylor caught up with Steffy and offered updates on her nice talk with Ridge. Steffy seemed intrigued, but she admitted she just spoke to Hope about this and vowed she wouldn't play matchmaker. That said, it was hard for Steffy since she knew Ridge was Taylor's true love. Taylor admitted that she'd always loved Ridge, but she'd accepted that he was with Brooke now and said Steffy should too. As Taylor looked at a photo of Brooke and Ridge together, she insisted their future was bright and that they had a long life ahead of them. Steffy seemed a little pensive over the comment as she stood nearby. Meanwhile, Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, was still at Forrester Creations when he took a phone call from Donna Logan, Jennifer Garice, who was trying to set him up with a girl. Will ran into RG Forrester, Joshua Hoffman, who didn't seem thrilled about the news that Bill Spencer's, Don Diamond, son might come to work with the Forresters. Will also asked questions about Luna Nozawa, Lisa Yamada, the lunatic, and seemed surprised over her being able to fool RJ, so there was some tension. At Bill's mansion, he made a pitch to Katie Logan, Heather Tom, about putting their family back together and assured her that this wasn't a rebound. Bill never even would have gotten together with Poppy Nozawa, Romy Park, if Katie hadn't rejected him first. Will walked in on Bill's speech and assumed his dad wanted Katie back. Bill took full responsibility for breaking up their family and said Will had every right to be protective of his mother. That said, Bill felt he wasn't the same man anymore and that he'd learned some valuable lessons. Once Bill made it clear that he wouldn't disappoint Katie and Will again, he pushed them to get on board with reuniting as a family. Will asked if that was what Katie wanted, but she seemed uncomfortable and shifted gears. Katie said she was so happy Will was home and that they all had a chance to spend time together, so she didn't want anything to ruin it. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say Bill will have to work harder if he wants the reunion of his dreams, so we'll pass along more romantic predictions as this story moves along. On the September 26 episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, tensions simmered and emotions ran high as key relationships faced defining moments. Brooke Logan, ever resilient yet vulnerable, found herself grappling with an unsettling realization about her longtime rival, Taylor Hayes. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer, relentless in his pursuit of a reunion, made a bold pitch to Katie, leaving her in a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. Brooke's sad Taylor clue. Brooke had spent much of her life at odds with Taylor, their rivalry fueled by their mutual love for Ridge. However, over the past few months, Brooke had sensed a shift in Taylor's behavior. There had been something off about Taylor, an underlying sadness, a sense of distance that Brooke couldn't quite place. And though they'd never been the best of friends, something within Brooke had softened. As much as they'd clashed, Taylor had been a fixture in her life for decades, and Brooke couldn't ignore the gut feeling that something was terribly wrong. In this episode, that nagging suspicion began to solidify into a painful truth. Brooke was at Forrester Creations, looking through designs for Hope's new line when she overheard a conversation between Thomas and Steffi. The two siblings were discussing their mother in hushed tones, their faces shadowed by concern. "Have you noticed how distracted she's been?" Steffi asked, her voice tinged with worry. "It's like her mind is a million miles away." Thomas nodded, his expression grim. "She's been trying to hide it, but I think something's eating her up inside. She's been avoiding therapy too." Brooke froze, her hands clutching the fabric swatches. She wasn't supposed to be eavesdropping, but the weight of their words drew her in. Taylor was struggling and avoiding therapy. This wasn't like the Taylor Brooke had known, pragmatic, strong, always in control. Something deeper was going on, and for the first time, Brooke felt a pang of genuine concern for her old foe. As Steffi and Thomas walked away, Brooke couldn't shake the heaviness of what she had overheard. She stared out the office window, her mind racing. Memories of their endless battles flashed through her mind. Taylor had always been a fierce competitor, but she had also been a devoted mother and a woman of conviction. If Taylor was struggling, it was serious. Later, when Brooke found herself alone, she placed a hesitant call to Ridge. He was surprised to hear from her, their recent interactions having been strained due to their complicated past. But Brooke didn't care about the awkwardness, she needed answers. "Ridge, it's about Taylor," Brooke said, her voice quieter than usual. "Have you noticed anything off?" There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a sigh. "I have. She's been distant, but whenever I ask, she brushes it off. You know how she is." Brooke swallowed, her concern deepening. "Maybe we should do something. She's avoiding therapy, Ridge. This isn't like her." Ridge agreed, but the sadness in his voice mirrored Brooke's own. Though they had been on opposite sides for so long, the weight of this new reality, the idea that Taylor might be suffering, brought a heaviness to the forefront that neither of them could ignore. Katie reacts to Bill's reunion pitch. Meanwhile, across town, Katie Logan was grappling with her own emotional turmoil. Bill Spencer had always been a man of grand gestures and even grander mistakes. After their tumultuous history, Katie had finally started to carve out a life for herself, one where she wasn't constantly on the emotional roller coaster Bill put her through. But Bill, being Bill, was never one to give up easily. Recently, he had been on a mission to win Katie back, convinced that they could find their way back to each other. In his heart, he believed that they were meant to be, despite the betrayals and heartbreaks that littered their past. And now he had come to make his case, yet again. Katie had agreed to meet him at Il Giardino for lunch, not quite sure what to expect. Bill had been laying it on thick lately, and part of her suspected that this meeting would be more of the same. She wasn't wrong. As they sat down at the table, Bill wasted no time getting to the point. "Katie, I've been doing a lot of thinking," he began, his intense blue eyes locked on hers. "We've been through hell and back, but that's what makes us strong. We've survived the worst. And now, I think it's time we focus on the best, on the future. Our future." Katie blinked, caught off guard by his directness, though she should have expected it. Bill was never one to beat around the bush. Still, his words stirred something in her. Memories of the good times, the laughter, and the passion they had shared. But they also brought back the pain, the deception, and the broken promises. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Bill, we've had this conversation before. We've tried to make it work, and every time, it falls apart." Bill reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "That's because I wasn't the man I am now. I know I've made mistakes, Katie. But I've learned. I'm a better man now, a man who knows that you are the love of his life. I want us to be a family again. For Will. For us. Katie's heart wavered. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that this time could be different. But a voice in the back of her mind reminded her of all the times she had heard these promises before. She pulled her hand away gently, shaking her head. I don't know, Bill, she said softly. It's not that simple. I can't just forget everything that's happened. Bill leaned back, frustration flickering across his face. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to give us another chance. Don't you think we owe it to ourselves, to Will? Katie bit her lip, her thoughts spinning. She had always wanted to give Will the stable family he deserved, but could she trust Bill again? Could she risk her heart once more, knowing that Bill's reckless nature had shattered it before? I need time to think, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Bill nodded, his expression softening. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. As Katie walked away from the restaurant, her heart was heavy with uncertainty. She loved Bill, that much she knew. But whether that love was enough to risk everything again, that was a question she wasn't ready to answer just yet. The cliffhanger. The episode ended on an emotional note, with Brooke standing by the window of Forrester Creations, her mind racing with worry for Taylor, while Katie stood outside Il Giardino, torn between her past with Bill and the future she wasn't sure she could trust. Both women, in different ways, were facing the possibility of rekindling relationships that had once defined their lives. But whether those flames could be reignited, or whether they would only burn brighter before extinguishing once more, remained to be seen.